On today's show, Venom makes a lot of money, and yet I still owe it a beer. Lakeith Stanfield joins a murder mystery directed by Rian Johnson, and Hiccup meets Light Fury. Will she swipe right? Find out right now on Collider Movie Talk.
Didn't she fly right?
Oh, dear.
Hey-oh.
All right.
Do dragons have thumbs?
Leaving the dad jokes.
Good question.
To John Steven Rocha, the host of Collider Sports Time over there. Him and I have some business to attend to later on tonight. That is Perri Nemiroff right there, fresh off a triumphant New York City Comic-Con. How was your weekend?
My Comic-Con was great. Saw a lot of cool people, saw a lot of cool footage. It was fun. Rocha thinks that I did 20 minutes of stand-up, and he still doesn't know. He still doesn't know that's a big lie. I sat on stage with Mark Ellis and we did a Q&A.
I
never believed you do stand-up.
Do we have the picture out of? Yeah, Perri and I did a Q&A after my set at New York Comedy Club. It was at the new New York Comedy Club in the East Village. So much fun. The fans were outstanding, and invited Perri Nemiroff up to a rousing ovation. They were so happy to see her, and that was Friday night. And as of Friday night, Venom had pulled in, already $10 million just on Thursday previews alone, and the bet that Perri and I had, because, look, I'm good at a lot of things, folks. I'm good at Tetris, the Game Boy version. I'm good at, trying to think of something else I'm good at. Well, here's what I'm not good at. I'm not good at always correcting myself or anybody else as far as what the number on the box office is going to be. And I wagered Perri last week on this very show that Venom's not going to crack $30 million for the opening weekend. Well, a little wrong. I was a little off slightly in my prediction. Venom did, in fact, crack $30 million. It cracked 40, it cracked 50, 60, 70 million. Venom, the movie that came out with a PG-13 rating, starring Tom Hardy, that was mixed reviews, to be fair and honest, 80 million big ones at the box office. Perri, people are laughing at me. Here's the one thing I will say about this, though, is that the bet was a beer. So people are asking me, they're like, hey, Mark, how many beers do you owe Perri? I mean, it wasn't like one beer per $1 million I'm off. It was like, you get a beer or I get a beer. So now Perri brought me a beer on stage when we did the Q&A in New York. So
that
now
means I get 2 beers.
I owe you 2 beers, and I'm happy to do so because you kicked my ass this weekend. You got all 5 of the top 5 box office predictions right. So it was Venom at number 1 with $80 million. It was A Star Is Born coming in at number 2, a little under what Perri's number thought she was going to be. It was $41.3 million. Smallfoot, number 3, $14.9 million. Night School, $12 million. And at number 5, The House with a Clock in Its Wall, $7.3 million. Perri, you are the resident box office expert, at least as of today and this week. And if it's you and me competing in another box office bet, I don't like my odds. Explain, Venom.
You give me a little too much credit. It's one thing to get the order right. It's another thing to actually get the numbers really accurate. And I was still way off on Venom. I think my final prediction number was 55 million, and it just crushed it. I really can't believe how much money this movie made. But I don't want to rain on its parade or anything. But obviously now I'm looking for next week's predictions and trying to figure out what could possibly happen. And I do think this is going to be an example of a movie that's really front loaded, and that's kind of just on the forefront of my mind right now, because when we look at Venom and we look at A Star Is Born, I think they're going to have like 2 polar opposite journeys at the box office, where Venom sees a pretty big dip next weekend, but then we'll have A Star Is Born, which critical buzz, A cinema score, and a whole lot of Oscar buzz. I think we're going to be talking about that one in the top 5 for a little while now.
Okay, Rocha, I mean, I'm happy with A Star Is Born because I really liked that movie. I thought it was fantastic, and Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, very impressive opening haul. And when you talk about legs, I think that movie is going to end up having more legs than Venom. Not necessarily saying it's going to make more overall worldwide, because Venom crushed worldwide as well. It's total now of all the territories it's been released in, including the United States, over $200 million. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. A lot of people are online now using it as ammunition, like, oh, see, you critics didn't know anything, or blah, blah, blah. And I find that interesting to me, because then what's the Nun situation? The Nun made all this money. Nobody saw that coming either. So it's I don't think it's as simple as a black and white answer. I think it's a more complex. Could have something to do with the fact that a lot of the moviegoers were under 25 at a higher percentage than most of the usual blockbusters. That matters because Star is Born had like 80% of the people were over 25 and went to see this movie, and that tells you something. There's a market that's expanding for these kinds of films. Maybe the 25 and unders, this is the kind of movie that's for them, and they have a good time, but they may not come back, as Perri said, in a second week and come back and see it multiple times. People who are over 25 do. Why? Because A, they have the income, and B, they want to go see things over to go and support it. So those things are you have to factor into the situation as well. This is incredible, though. You can't take that away from Venom. Didn't get great reviews. Had a B+ cinema score, which was Justice League at B+, and I can't remember what else had a B+. There was Suicide Squad had a B+. That didn't do so well. Actually, Suicide Squad did well financially, didn't do so well creatively, and ended up causing problems and changes at Warner Bros. And DC as well. So, but this is interesting because Avi Arad said, what are they going to do with this going forward? Are they going to maintain the PG-13? And it feels like they are. And I remember a lot of people were like, PG-13, I don't want to see it if it's not going to be PG-13. But there is some humor in here that people seem to enjoy and like about it. And there's something about the charm of Tom Hardy with this Venom character. Whatever your issues are with the other characters in the film, whether they be one-dimensional or not fleshed out enough, there was enough of a relationship between Venom and Tom Hardy for word of mouth to get people into that theater. And so all you can say is, great job from Sony. They probably had contingency plans for this thing failing. Now they don't have to worry about that and figure out what they do with this new universe. And does this make it more possible for Tom Holland to come back as Spider-Man now into this universe?
Well, that's going to be the big question when you look at the next iteration of Venom, whatever we see. But in the meantime, this movie, primarily its audience, even more so than Spider-Man Homecoming, was under 25. Like you were pointing out the demographics. So this means that PG-13 rating might have ended up helping it more than it did hurt it. And if for no other reason, the R rating versus PG-13 got it into the conversation. It was a talking point with Venom, so more people are aware there's a movie coming out called Venom, and a hell of a lot of went to go see it opening night. So with the other top 4 movies, I'm not sure what the budget was on Smallfoot, but all the other movies in there have already recouped their budget. So with Night School, with The House on a Clock on its Walls, and even A Star is Born, already recouped what their budget was. Which one is the biggest success right now to you, Rocha?
Oh, I would say A Star is Born. That shocks the hell out of me on so many levels, only because Cooper and Gaga aren't necessarily known for opening mad movies. Cooper has always been an ensemble, or any film that Cooper has led necessarily hasn't always blown the doors off the box office. Part of ensemble Guardians, that's a whole other situation, But something like this, I was really
American
surprised.
Sniper's the outlier.
Yeah,
and
the outlier,
that
because
one just kept rolling with a lot of Oscar buzz.
And you have Clint Eastwood's name attached to it. You can't discount that either. And so with this situation, I was really surprised. I thought this was 25 to 30 tops. To see it at 40, I was really surprised by it. To see that it's going to go even more, it's going to have these legs. That gives me a lot of hope that people do have a hunger at a certain age range for these kinds of movies. We do want to, people have been complaining over the last couple of years, oh, you just want blow up movies. I was listening to Matt Damon being interviewed by Bill Simmons on his podcast. Damon said the same thing. He says, I couldn't make Rounders now. I couldn't make it unless I was putting it on Netflix. And the fact that you see something like A Star is Born, which is a remake of a remake of a remake, coming in with this kind of situation with a new actress, feature film actress, and Lady Gaga as a lead, is pretty incredible to make the money it's making. And it makes me excited to go see this thing, which I'll probably go tomorrow or Wednesday night to go see this thing.
Yeah, if I'm just comparing A Star is Born to Rounders, all due respect to Rounders, I enjoy rewatching that movie time and time again whenever it's on, but A Star is Born has an otherworldly talent with Lady Gaga in it, and A Star is Born, also Bradley Cooper learning how to play guitar and sing convincingly. So I think the music is a huge selling point of that movie, whereas Rounders, again, Rounders kicked off the whole poker craze on TV, so I give it its due credit. I think A Star is Born could come out in any era, and it's proven as much because this is the 4th time it's been made.
It didn't surprise me all that much that it made this amount of money. I mean, for this one, I had gone a little higher. I thought it was going to have a chance at coming close to 50, because part of the way that I try to predict things is I'll look at the early ticket sales, and earlier in the week last week, they were actually, I think A Star is Born was probably higher than Venom in terms of, hourly ticket sale reports. And then as we got closer and closer to opening night, all of a sudden it was like Venom shot up. And I have a feeling a lot of fans out there, a lot of diehard Venom fans, also because, it's been a while since we've seen Venom on the big screen. There's a lot of noise happening for people who wanted to see Venom brought to the big screen the right way. I have a feeling a lot of those people got their tickets, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the 25 and under crowd maybe got them that night, and everything kind of just spiked throughout the weekend. But with A Star Is Born does not surprise me one bit, especially after having seen it at TIFF and knowing what a true quality crowd pleaser it was. And Lady Gaga, I mean, Lady Gaga is hands down one of the biggest, I don't care what entertainment sector you're in, she is just one of the biggest stars, celebrities, biggest names out there, where there was no doubt in my mind that just to see her in a leading role like this, that alone was going to draw a crowd. And the fact that, one, the movie's really good, two, has some serious Oscar potential this year, this was bound to happen.
Yeah, and you look at this, how much did Gaga's fans help boost this thing to where it is now? And remember, there was a story about the Gaga fans going online and trying to write bad Venom reviews. Clearly that didn't work either. So these two, so there is room for both a blockbuster and a powerful adult story about a relationship and its progression to exist at the same time and make money and be well received.
What's even crazier about that is we haven't even mentioned that Venom has now the highest opening weekend for an October release. Yeah. It crushed Gravity. I think it was something like 55 million. Yeah. But the thing is, not only did Venom crush that record, but hey, A Star Is Born wasn't too far off from that. So the fact that we had these two movies lead the first week in October, this is going to be a huge month, especially when you look at some of the early projections for Halloween, which are being adjusted to 65 million. This is just going to be an insane weekend for an insane month for the industry now.
Yeah, Perri thought A Star Is Born was going to make $50 million. Only did 41. How embarrassing for you. Glad I wasn't you this weekend. Rocha, Perri mentioned she has a lot of things that she looks into when she's investigating what to give her box office prediction number. Do you have any similar thing if you're doing a deep dive into this? Do you look at tracking? Do you look at ticket sales?
Yeah, Perri and I are two different people. Like, Perri's she's very, how would I say this? She's very intelligent, methodical, analytical person. I'm an analytical person, but I also go with my gut a little more than Perri does, because I don't care about falling on my face. I'll make these crazy predictions, and then I'm sometimes right, sometimes I'm wrong, but I go with what I feel. And but I also factor in my years of watching films and the way certain films have been received by the public over the years in patterns. And something like A Star Is Born doesn't always come out and blow the doors off the box office and surprise. A smaller film, a quieter film doesn't always do that, especially a music film. That's kind of not, those aren't really typically the ones that blow the doors off the box office. So for it to come out the way that it did and make the 41 was really great. But there's something to look at here in October too, because if Gravity was the holder before, that's also not a big blockbuster movie. That's a story in space, but it's a very simple story about a woman's dealing with the death of her daughter and how she progresses through her life. So there's something here that's very powerful happening in this month, that you can release movies like this and they do get received well by the audiences. But yeah, that's my typical thing, is that I look at patterns, I look at what's gone on through the years, because I've been around.
And then you throw it all out the window and you go with your gut.
And I go with my gut, yeah, because that's how you do it.
This is why I just love the idea of matching you guys as partners when it comes to predicting. Like, Rocha, you're a loose cannon.
I am.
I'm gonna threaten you with traffic duty. Yeah, sure, Perri's analytical. She might be the best person we have on the force. Now, I also want to remind you guys that this weekend there's more movies coming out, and I'm fascinated to see what shakes out, because First Man, that's another Oscar contender, so you wonder if that's going to take some of the bite away from A Star Is Born. And then, I mean, Goosebumps, boy, did they open their movie too late, because we've seen Jack Black do the exact same thing 3 or 4 weeks ago. I love Jack Black, but it does not look all that dissimilar. The Goosebumps name brand value has something in there. It's closer to Halloween, but I think that's going to be tough, just competing against itself in a way with the house and a clock in its wall.
Do you want to make another bet? Because it might be easy if I just win 6 times over, and then you can just go get me a case of Blue Moon.
I'm ready to make another bet. What's the bet?
I don't know. Take your pick. You got 3. I mean, really, this is going to be a challenging weekend, actually, to make a bet, because I think some of these are pretty close.
El Royale's like 12 tops. That's ridiculous. No one's going to see
that might even wind up being a little high.
Yeah, right. Exactly. El Royale's down. I think First Man certainly wins.
I would say First Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know though, because Venom could come back and have a strong second weekend too. So this is very tough. And if you guys are wondering at home what my method for predicting box office is whatever bar I'm drinking at, I ask the bartender, "Hey, have you heard of this movie?" And based on their information, that's how I make my call. Sometimes I've been accurate in the past. It's not like I'm horrible at this. I just had a bad week. So we'll think about our bet, and we'll announce later on in the show, or tomorrow, or Friday, whatever we're feeling as far as that. But I think it should be either the second weekend domestic take for Venom, or the First Man domestic opening weekend ticket.
I'm happy with either of those options. I will let you choose.
Okay, thank you very much for referring to the person that definitely needs it. Well, we're not done talking about Venom just yet, and I will warn you guys, this next story has a minor spoiler if you consider what happened in the post-credit scene a spoiler. There, I said it, so now we can let you guys know that Woody Harrelson, was he in Venom? Yeah, I guess kind of. I didn't see him in the movie, but in the post-credit scene, he showed up, and this is going to be the role of Carnage, John Rocha. So Carnage showing up. It was interesting because one of the producers, as you mentioned, Avi Arad, was asked if the sequel to Venom, because it did so well, and he's probably going to feature Carnage if the post-credit scene teases to be believed, is that going to be rated R? Because Carnage can be such a violent entity. And Avi had this to say: when you hear Carnage, the only thing you can think of is R, but if you know his story, if you know the comic, there's no R here. He's a tortured soul. It's not about what he does, because we never have to show the knife going from here to there and the blood pouring. What we have to show is what is the motivation. What was he born like? Is there someone we should feel for? Because in succeeding in making a villain in someone you can feel for, then that's the jackpot, as opposed to showing all the blood and guts and violence. Wholeheartedly agree. And this weekend should be an indication to Sony that you don't need to make your movies R-rated. Not only if you want to put a violent character like Carnage in there, but also, could we see Peter Parker swinging into this movie now that the MCU is up in the ivory tower and saying, Venom did $200 million worldwide opening weekend? Spidey, get in the game.
Yeah, and there make some money. I did a post-credits explainer thing for Collider, which you can watch up on the channel. And one of the things I stressed on is that it had to be an R-rated movie, in my opinion, because this is a serial killer. This is a serial killer. This is not just like Venom, where you have, he's throwing spikes or whatever that you have from the other symbiotes. This is a serial killer who killed his grandma, killed his dog, sorry, Perri, and burnt down an orphanage.
Did kill his dog, yeah.
Down an orphanage. What is Avi Arad talking about? What are you going to say? Like, well, he's already been a serial killer for a while. Now he's Carnage, so we're going to forget all that. The whole point of Carnage is it's supposed to be the offspring of Venom, the even angrier, uglier, meaner, more sadistic version of Venom. How are you going to do it? What do you, PG-14, PG-15? Like, to me, it's just like, well, what's the line here? And at what point are you not being faithful and honest to the characters in exchange for creating a more touchy-feely film that will get you money? Like, this is the conflict to me: business versus creative, right? Business makes sense; you can make more money. Obviously, Venom proves that. But creatively, the film is, in my opinion, not that good. But you're making money, so where's the division, right? A lot of people had the Transformers argument. Oh, terrible movies. Yeah, but they're making $1.1 billion. What's right here? So,
do you consider Transformers the outlier in that regard, in that the first movie crushed, but people didn't love it?
Right.
It got mixed reactions. And maybe that's not even fair to say about the first Transformers. Right. Is it because I think it was at least a competent movie, but the diminishing returns in quality-wise, at least in the opinion of most people about the Transformers movies, but they continued to make money. Maybe not as much as even Paramount would have liked, but they still continue to make money. Is that the outlier, or do you think that you can make a movie and it comes out and it's not that good, and the sequel comes out and the sequel's still going to do well despite the critical lack of success of the first one?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's certainly possible. I think that's it's just a matter of, do you have the movie constructed in a way that's going to appeal to a mass number of people that will come and see the film over and over and over again. That was the thing with Transformers films. You can bash them all you want. People went over and over and over again. You don't make $1.1 billion in your fourth installment from people who are going to see it for the first time only. Like, that's the thing. So they must have struck some kind of gold, and obviously it fell away in that fifth installment, which is why Michael Bay's not around. But they must have struck some kind of gold that they understood here, and Avi Arad and Sony may have done that with Venom here, and may go down their path with Carnage. But at some point, if you keep going down this path, you lose the ferocity of the villains. And isn't that the main complaint of the MCU? Until Thanos showed up, and to a lesser degree Killmonger, their issues were their villains. Venom.
But do you think that Perri, do you think the violence was the reason why people had an issue with the MCU villains, or do you just think it was the lack of character development?
No, I don't think that's the issue. I think that's what he's trying to get at too. And keep in mind, I'm coming at this as someone who doesn't know the Carnage source material, so I can't really speak to that. But based on what I saw in Venom and applying it to what he says here, also, I believe we're talking about Venom 2, not necessarily a Carnage movie, right? So if Venom is still front and center in that, it does seem like maybe you can get away with it, especially when I consider where they were cutting away in Venom. Because, I mean, yeah, I did notice it. There were a number of times when you have a character who is ripping people's heads off and you stop just short of showing any blood. Yeah, I realized.
Is that because you're the person that sat through Hellfest with a huge smile on your face for 2 hours?
That might have something to do with it. But in this case, yes, I saw it, but I 100%, especially after seeing the box office money this week, and I understand why it might have been a smarter move for them to go PG-13. And now that they've done it, now that they're successful with it, they can't go back. They have to keep at it on this track, especially when that number under 25 is so big. I mean, yeah, some of them could go see an R movie, but who knows how many can. So you don't want to box yourself in, but, it could be at risk of ruining the source material.
Well, you make a good point here, Perri, in that we may find Carnage already created. Obviously, we did in the mid-credit scene, but what version of Carnage are we going to get? And if Venom is the front and center person, we throw in the relationship with Michelle Williams. How's that going to work out? So we have a Venom who is a hero, and so Carnage is just another villain. The thing for me is, how are you going to separate the battle between Venom and Riot and make it different between Venom and Carnage in a sequel? Because Carnage is supposed to be their villain. These are my concerns overall. But our concerns of those of us who are faithful to the material may be dying in something with a box office like this, because Venom was only cursory or only close to the material. It wasn't really the authentic Lethal Protector storyline. So this is, in the end, what may be the concern is the people who are clamoring about it being faithful to the material may be just yelling in the wind.
The concern of Sony right now too is them
like a turd,
like a turd in the wind.
I couldn't help it.
They just don't want to announce that this movie, that Venom 2, now it's going to be rated R. We got Carnage, because then all of a sudden, how do we get Spider-Man in here? Because they're not going to make an R-rated movie that features Spider-Man of a role prominence at all, maybe not even a cameo. So you at least want to say it's PG-13 now. And if you talk with the MC and there's no way that you can get Tom Holland or anybody else to come in as Spider-Man, then maybe you have the conversation, but I still don't think it makes sense. I like Perri's point where you can have a Venom movie that features Carnage in it, rated PG-13, because you set up that universe and it's been very successful based on the one weekend that we know so far, and you could set that up like the X-Men, because the X-Men are PG-13 movies. Logan went off and did an R movie. Deadpool in the universe went off and does R movies, but if they ever come back to the MCU, it's going to be a PG-13 X-Men movie, because I don't think you're ever going to see an R-rated X-Men movie, especially not now because they're going to Disney. So what are the odds that we get Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man in Venom Part 2?
Perri?
Slim to none. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I think it's
slim to none.
Here's what I'll say. I don't quite agree. I would say it's more probable now after the success of Venom than it was before Venom. What'll be interesting is, does Venom now have even a stronger case to slide into the MCU?
No way.
Which we also talked about which we also did a explainer video on that as well, that I did the VO for. The possibilities are now a little more open. It doesn't mean...
The only reason I think that how much money Venom made might affect Spider-Man's chances of getting into that cinematic universe, and I mean Tom Holland Spider-Man at some point, is because they made so much money right out of the gate. Now all of a sudden things are looking up for them continuing the cinematic universe. I don't think anyone at Marvel is saying, oh, well, Venom made $80 million. Maybe we should consider putting Tom Holland in that movie. No way. They are thinking about their brand from a creative standpoint, and from a creative standpoint, Venom kind of, it doesn't have the best reviews out there. And I think they are considering this from a quality perspective more so than just a really hot opening weekend at the box office.
Well, I hear you, but it doesn't MCU doesn't have terrible movies in there. Overall, Iron Man 2 sucks. Thor and Thor Dark World, a lot of people didn't like, even though I did. There are a lot of people didn't.
You're
so
also
it's not like
referencing
MCU has
movies.
The highest quality.
You're also referencing movies that are very early in the Marvel run compared to where we've hit now. And it's like, that's what I'm constantly saying, especially with like Star Wars and really any brand out there that's trying to build a cinematic universe is, it's not like Marvel aced every single movie out the gate. They also had to find their footing as well. And I think that's what all of these other companies are kind of experiencing right now.
All right, well, regardless of all of that, Venom continues to do well. You're going to see a sequel sooner rather than later. Will Spider-Man be in there? Y'all let us know right now what you think. Let us know in the comment section. Let us know in the chat room, on Twitter after the fact. And you can also check this show out on our podcast feed, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Podcast One, wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to us. You got Movie Talk. You have the Weekend Show Mailbag hosted by Perri Nemiroff, and Afterthoughts hosted by Rian and Jay. You host, you cut to Perri, and I'm like, oh no, Perri has an announcement about Mailbag.
I have a what?
I thought you had an announcement about Mailbag.
No, I don't.
So I went to you. I thought
I do not.
Had set you up for something because I'm so good at setting people up, even when it's not mentioned in the show notes.
It's Monday. I'm nowhere near prepared for Weekend Mailbag.
That's probably. I'm not prepared for this show. John Rocha, you hosted a sports show this morning. Tell us about it.
I did. Collider Sports Time. Yeah, we had Adam Caparell, who's a Complex Sports senior editor, on because my friend Mark Ellis decided to text me at 9 a.m. that he couldn't be on the show, so I had to find a quick replacement. Josh McCouga also called in sick, so it was me and Matt Nost held the fort down with Adam Caparell, but it was a good show, honestly. All joking aside.
Did you really even remember I was going to come in?
No. All joking aside, we talked about the NFL, college football, and Adam came on to talk a lot of Major League Baseball playoffs conversation. A lot of you have been clamoring for that, those of you who watch the show. And so I think we filled that up. And then we talked some more MMA stuff with Dennis Zhang with the Conor versus Khabib thing. Oh, and there were 2 Collider Mailbags this weekend, which you could go back and watch if you want. I hosted with Mark Riley and Dennis Zhang. Really funny stuff there. But another great Collider Sports Time show. Please keep watching on there on the Collider Sports YouTube channel and on the podcast feed. We do a lot of fun stuff. And there's more guests coming down the pike, which I'm looking forward to.
Big game tonight.
Like this guy.
Big game tonight. Big game tonight. It's a big game. Yeah. And you and I will talk about in a little bit. There was some big stuff that was released at New York Comic Con this weekend, not the least of which was a new clip from How to Train Your Dragon. This is How to Train Your Dragon. It's the 3rd one in the franchise right now. The series director returns. You have a lot of the returning cast, including some people that may have perished at some point in the first 2. When you watch this clip, and the clip features Hiccup. Hey, it's him and his boy, and they're all back. And now you have the Chief Ruler Burke alongside Astrid. We have a dragon Viking utopia. We get dragons and Vikings, and they all get along together, and everything's great. And then they go for a walk in the woods. They see, hey, there's Hiccup. That's my guy. and Hiccup ain't alone. Talking to a light fury. You don't know what the name of the dragon is, but it is a light fury, and it looks like there might be some mating involved. So Perri Nemiroff, looks like we're going to see a love story in the 3rd How to Train Your Dragon, but a dragon love story. Is this one going to be rated R, or can you show the love PG?
Not to throw you under the bus, but you set me up for it. You basically just created a human dragon love story.
Oh, did I?
Because it's toothless, not Hiccup.
Oh, God, jeez.
That would be awkward and probably rated R.
I thought Hiccup was the dragon.
No, Hiccup's the kid. Yeah. Well, he's not a kid anymore, and I mean, that's kind of what How to Train Your Dragon 3 is going to get into. It's just, him rising to power, making decisions now for Burke. And, I don't really rewatch the other movies enough that this kind of, was a trigger in my mind. But I know some people out there are very confused about the continuity issues because, as we saw in the first movie, stoic Hiccup's dad was super against dragons, and now all of a sudden here he is with Hiccup as a young kid telling him, I sense like you're meant to go out there and unite the humans and the dragons. And I don't know, it kind of does sound interesting to me, the idea of this movie then showing a missing gap in their relationship where maybe he felt differently towards them. But then again, I'm not a How to Train Your Dragon expert. I can't tell you if that completely ruins the canon or something, but I don't know. It sounds like with Hiccup becoming, an adult and a leader, that sounds like an appropriate time to make a move like that.
A missing gap. Name is Toothless. John Rocha, would you rather see this movie with Toothless in the Light Fury, 2 dragons, or do you want to see my creepy movie with Hiccup trying to make eyes at a dragon?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I just wrote the new Twilight film.
You did. That's an R movie. I know that's an R-rated movie. No, obviously I'm looking forward to this one. This looks fantastic. The trailer looks great. The 55-second clip they released looks fun. But Perri, because it's immediately what I thought thought too. I was like, wait, wasn't his dad against this idea of dragons and humans being together? So now all of a sudden, way back when, he had a conversation with his son talking about the possibility of unifying dragons with humans. So this is a bit of a retcon, and I want to see how that works in the overall story. Maybe he changed his mind as he got older because he had issues with the dragons and humans. Maybe there's something that fractured it, and maybe that will come back into play in this third installment, and we find out why the dragons and the humans had to live separately. Maybe there was something that occurred in that situation. And like Perri, I'm not as steeped in the How to Train Your Dragon universe, so maybe I'm missing a fact or two there. But it seems like this is this situation. But I love the fact that Toothless is getting love. It's a natural progression thing. Like he progresses to become leader, Toothless must also progress to become a part of a society as well, and find someone to be with as well. So that's nice. The mirrored progression of both these characters.
That's right. All right. Dragon's going to be making out. Maybe you get some eggs, right? Dragons lay eggs eventually, right?
I don't know where you're going with this, bro. I'm uncomfortable.
It's going to... How did Toothless get here? That his parents...
It was from an egg.
Parents made love. Do you think...
I don't know if they made love.
Do you really think a stork is going to fly a dragon? I know that's how humans are born, but it's not how dragons are born. Dragons hatch out of eggs.
Maybe are they asexual? Are dragons asexual?
I don't believe it. From this trailer, no. You guys go watch this clip.
I'm sorry, Grandma Nems. I'm sorry. I'm just asking questions, Nana Nems. I'm just asking questions.
We just had a whole conversation about how Toothless is getting with another dragon, and that's the conclusion you come to?
Well, no, I just didn't know. It doesn't mean necessarily they're going to I don't know, whatever. You know, like I said, I'm not steeped in the universe. I don't know how they have eggs.
I just want there to be a scene where Hiccup has to sit Toothless down and tell him, have the talk.
Yeah.
You know, like sit down and just be like, all right, look, you're going to find a dragon.
Yeah.
At some point, and
don't run off with the first dragon you meet.
Don't run off with the first
Like, there's a lot of other dragons out there. Make sure it's the right one.
Dragons are fun. Good luck with the eggs, kids. Our next story involves a new trailer for Bodied. Bodied it's a red band trailer, so hey, talk about R-rated stuff. Check out the red band trailer on YouTube right now. This is actually a YouTube original, and this movie Bodied, it's primarily based on a rap battle. You have a white rapper who's going up against a number of other different rappers of different ethnicities. The movie is directed by Joseph Kahn, who's a Korean-American director, and it was screened, I believe, last year at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2017, and our own from Collider, Matt Goldberg, caught it and said it was really good. A lot of the critics have praised it. I believe won the Fan Midnight Madness Award, the People's Choice Award. So pretty impressive stuff from Bodied. From what I saw from this trailer, it's produced by Eminem, and you certainly get 8 Mile vibes in this. I dug the trailer. I thought it was pretty good. It's felt a little too similar to 8 Mile at times, but John Rocha, you seem to have stronger feelings than I.
Listen, I don't think I'm the right demographic for this. I was watching this trailer just going like, what the hell is this shit? I don't need to see this stuff. But that being said,
why don't you think you're the right demographic?
I don't, because
do you think that this is a
rap battle through a white boy's point of view? Like, I don't need to see.
That's a fair question.
That was my problem with it. It's like, I get it, but I haven't seen a rap battle movie yet through a black guy's point of view or a black woman's point of view. And yes, you're bringing in black women and of course that Korean guy, and you're bringing in a black dude who's there said, I can hear the racist thoughts in your head. You're turning them into caricatures. That's frustrating to me. Yes, the angry black woman, the angry black man, and I just, no, man, there's humanity here, and if I would have liked to have seen this done through a black guy. Why can't you have a nerdy black guy walking into rap battle? That would work just as well as having some dopey white dude come and do it. So to me, it just bothered me all around, and I've been watching these rap battles, for years on TV, and I enjoy some of the episodes. Some of the episodes are done with stunt casting, and it's all set up, and you're like, this is pretty stupid. But that being said, I do enjoy that. I do enjoy rap battle. This trailer just did nothing for me because it seemed like a bunch of caricatures rather than real people.
Perri, did you get the caricature vibe? Do you see this trailer and say this is something I should investigate?
Well, speaking of what you just brought up, they address that in the trailer too. It's kind of like that fish out of water vibe where I think it kind of, like almost like hits it right on the nose, if that's even a phrase. It basically read your mind and your impression, and they're putting him on full blast for that. But I've just been excited for this movie ever since it premiered at Toronto last year, because from my friends who had seen it there, I have not stopped hearing about this movie from them. They have not stopped talking about it. Matt Goldberg has a review on Collider.com, and he really dug it. I have a whole bunch of friends who they were just like scouring the web every single day waiting for Bodied to get a release date. Now that we finally have the chance to see it, I'm super into it. I'm not going to say that this trailer trailer blew my mind and all of a sudden made this the must-see of the rest of the year. But I'm getting a taste of what they were really into. And, so far I'm intrigued. It's got like a really nice energy and the trailer had a good beat to it, a quick cutting style to it, which just kind of drew me in. And I do like that kid, Callum Worthy, I think his name is, the lead. He was in American Vandal, and I got a kick out of him there. And his role there is like super, it's like dweeby to the max, that I wouldn't think he would transition into a role quite like this, even though that's part of the vibe here. But I don't know. So far, so good for me. I'm into it. I'm just dying to see it based on word of mouth.
Were you an 8 Mile fan, or did you?
I love 8 Mile. That's Eminem's story. That's his actual real life story. And that thing was told hardcore because he's poor. He's got his child. His mom's like doing crazy shit on the side with these dudes that she brings into his sphere that are not healthy for him or his child. And so that's real stuff. And you see him fail at the beginning, trying to do the things that he's doing, and eventually figure out through the journey that what he needs to do in that moment to grab his confidence and succeed. So
but does the fact that he's producing this movie, does that give the film more credibility?
It's a good point you bring, but then again, Spielberg produced the Transformers movie. So what are we talking about here? I mean, I get it. Eminem's got to make that money. I respect it, but this doesn't, so far, at least from the trailer, and I'm only judging the trailer, right? I don't know what Goldberg saw or anybody saw, any of Perry's friends saw, but like for me, just from the trailer, I don't have an interest in this. If they'd show me a black dweeby dude walk into the situation, trying to learn how to battle rap in this situation, that would be interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair either way if you see this trailer and you're put off by the fact that it feels like something you've seen before, or it just feels like it's just cultural misappropriation. I get that. I also understand if you do watch this trailer and you say, I'm interested, because to me, what I liked about 8 Mile the most, and what I like about this trailer, is that I do want to feel like I'm on the inside when I'm seeing a rap battle on screen. I want to feel like I'm actually there. And this trailer accomplished that. And that was one of the soaring successes of 8 Mile, is that you feel like you're there and you feel like you're in the audience. And that's something that I respond to because I'm interested in how audiences react to performances, especially something like that where you're just right up next to somebody in their face. So I like that this trailer, Joseph Kahn was able to do that. And he's a music video directing background. So I think he's going to bring a lot of that. How the story actually plays out remains to be seen. But the movie, I believe it comes out on YouTube Premium is where you can first see it, and that's November 28th. So if you see the movie on YouTube,
limited in theaters on November 2nd. Too.
Oh, it is in
if
theaters.
You feel like seeing it in theaters and it's playing near you.
There's YouTube Red, then there's YouTube Premium, or is that the same thing?
I think they changed the official title of it.
Okay, so
I
what
would
I'm
have done
paying
that
for,
a long
I'm still
time
gonna get.
ago.
Yes,
I know we're on YouTube
sure
right now, but like YouTube Red sounds very like let's go watch porn on YouTube Red.
What?
YouTube Red sounds ever since I heard the name YouTube Red, I'm like, that means that they're watching bad things, because the Red Band trailer, it's for adults only. Right. YouTube Red, it's for adults only. There's gonna be dragon penetration.
All right,
let's move on to the next story.
Maybe they're freeing up the name YouTube Red for a reason.
See, there you go. Yeah. Right. Then all the parents who previously told their kids, it's okay to go on YouTube Red, are gonna say it again, and don't know what your kids are using your credit card for, parents. All right, our last story before we take your live Twitter questions. We are happy to take your questions at Collider Video and use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. Make it quick because we got a football game to watch. Lakeith Stanfield has joined the cast of Rian Johnson's murder mystery Knives Out, and that is not the only casting announcement from this movie we have today. Just added, according to Variety, Michael Shannon. So Michael Shannon, Lakeith Stanfield. This movie's casting is bonkers. You probably know Lakeith Stanfield from a number of different projects. Atlanta's one I'll throw at you right off the bat. And Michael Shannon, you've seen Michael Shannon do Michael Shannon things, which generally lends itself more to a villainous side of the role. Lakeith Stanfield, I think, could be good, could be bad, could be somewhere in between. Perri, how do you see these casting announcements playing out?
I got so distracted seeing footage from that interview I did with him from Comic-Con last year for Deadline. He was semi in character for most of his interviews, and he did that with me, and it was just it was an experience. I do really admire him as an actor, though, so it didn't matter. I was already really excited about this project, curious to see what Rian Johnson was cooking up next. When you add Daniel Craig and Chris Evans, I'm immediately sold, but I will follow Keith Stanfield to just about anything he touches, because I think his body of work just speaks to, someone with a he's looking for something different, something interesting, movies that actually say something. And if he picks this one, I have a feeling it's going to be, something that stands out. Obviously, I don't know, nobody knows the details of the story yet, but with this group of talent around it, I am inclined to believe it's going to be something else. But if you need some Keith Stanfield recommendations, obviously Get Out is a must. He is also, and this is the first time I saw him, he's so good in Short Term 12. Have you guys ever seen Short Term 12?
I haven't.
I feel like you in particular would love that movie.
All
Everyone
right.
would love that movie. You should watch it.
I'll take your recommendation. I like him in Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the hell out of that damn movie. And I walked in not knowing, I was like, didn't get great reviews. Some of my friends weren't 100% happy with it. And I sat and watched it. I loved the hell out of everything and what it had to say. And his performance was fantastic. Him and Tessa were great in that movie. And Armie Hammer, even a lesser role, was great. And so, but seeing him into this situation, you throw in Daniel Craig, you throw in, was it Chris Evans? And then you throw in Rian Johnson. This is just, and Michael Shannon. This is just a perfect wheelhouse of good, strong character / lead actors bringing some weight to a film. And this is where Rian Johnson cut his teeth on these kinds of films, bringing some really strong performances out of these actors who are character / lead actors. So I look forward to this and seeing what this whole thing turns out to be. In a murder mystery, there's a lot of stuff to explore here and a lot of fun.
And you would think that Michael Shannon would be the villain, but the last report I read said that Daniel Craig and Keith Stanfield are playing detectives, and that maybe that means Chris Evans is the murderer, which I think would be an interesting shift for him.
Yeah.
But I think Michael Shannon can go one way or the other. Obviously, we've seen him play some really creepy villains, but I just saw the movie What They Had, and he plays a really kind of sweet, well-intentioned, but with a slight temper, down-to-earth guy, and I thought he did a lot with that role.
Maybe he's the captain, Ellis. Give me your badge on the desk.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
The 80s captain.
Yeah, you're going back to the previous point.
Put your gun and badge on my desk.
About the box office. Yeah, Chris Evans that'd be some nice subversion. As maybe he killed Captain America, because Captain America is not making it out. And like, sorry guys, I don't think he's making it out at all. I think this time next year we're going to be talking about, man, how did Tony survive and Captain America died? When it comes to guessing movies, I'm the worst of the worst. At least this week. I'll be back to my normal confidence tomorrow. One more story to get to, and that story is simply talking about Perri. Now, look, do we know what Perri's going to be responding to on Mailbag this weekend? No, we do not. We have no idea, because she doesn't. Do you know what's going to be on the Witching Hour podcast?
I do.
Hosted by Perri and Haley Phelps.
I am so excited about this because we just recorded this episode earlier today. So Haley and I are doing our usual full hour-long podcast, and for the entire hour, we're joined by Lin Shaye, who will have my heart for life. I think she is a genre icon. A lot of you probably know her from the Insidious franchise, but what she did with that character, Ellis, I think is a big game changer, and she deserves all the love and respect in the world. And obviously we showered her with some of it. She told us all these crazy stories, because she's got like a crazy long career too, where she started out working with Wes Craven on Nightmare on Elm Street, Twilight Zone, but she just kind of goes through her, like a large majority of her filmography, and told us some really cool stories.
Mark and I want to know, did she talk about Kingpin at all?
She does. She mentions she mentioned Kingpin and something else.
Something about Mary? There's something about Mary?
Yeah.
She's great in that.
And she mentioned those two in the same breath, so you could
very
probably
funny.
see what I'm going for there.
Yep.
Yeah, super talented. Glad you guys got to interview her. So you guys can check that on the Witching Hour, and you get Collider Live tomorrow morning, and then Movie Talk, 4 p.m., the usual time back here tomorrow afternoon. We move on to live Twitter questions. Like I said, at Collider Video, use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. Izzy Loreno's up first. Says, Perri, missed you at New York Comic Con, but wanted to know what were the highs and lows for you. Big fan of Aquaman and Hellboy is asking the question.
You had to put the low in there. I mean,
What,
I don't even want to say it out loud, because I don't want everyone to get mad all over again.
Welcome to being
Q&A
on camera.
And it's like, like I'm a shill because I didn't like a DC property. I didn't like Titans. Okay, I didn't like it. It didn't work for me. It felt like mean and gloomy and super dark and violent. And it didn't work for me. I'm sorry,
the
guys.
person who liked Hell House didn't like a super dark and violent show. I'm confused, Perry.
Well,
I'm confused, Nemiroff.
No, it's about, see, but that's the thing is like, just because you like, blood and gore doesn't mean you like blood and gore in every single movie. It's about a movie building up the ability to be able to earn something like that. And I think in Hellfest's case, its tone, its theme, its setting kind of warranted that. Whereas, especially someone who knows nothing about that source material, jumping into a character that I'm semi-familiar with in Robin, to see him do things like that, it was a little off-putting. And yeah, that's something you can grow accustomed to. But in the case of these first 2 episodes, I don't think they earned the right to be able to do that.
Fair
but
enough.
Not to make this a whole review on that yet again. I think my favorite, can I do 3 favorites?
We'll give you 3 favorites. Yeah.
My 3 favorites were Star Trek Discovery,
Ooh.
Hellboy, and the Dark Phoenix footage.
What?
Yeah.
The Dark Phoenix footage?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had said before they screened it that some of the VFX and some of the score were unfinished, and you could definitely see that. But in the 13 minutes that they showed us, there were certain layers to the story where things that played at the beginning of the sequence were connecting and making things more powerful towards the end, where it made me think, oh, like you're building something that could be pretty powerful here. Of course, 13 minutes doesn't mean we're going to get a great full feature, but I thought those 13 minutes played well.
Okay, yeah. I would say my favorite thing about New York Comic-Con was I went to one panel and I got to go to the Wreck-It Ralph panel. Ralph Breaks the Internet, and I was very excited because they showed 20 minutes of previously unseen footage, so a lot of goodies in there. And it was hosted by a friend of the show and a damn good friend of mine, Miss Danny Fernandez, who actually is in the movie. It was announced on the panel. They showed her scene. It was just so gratifying to see somebody who I care so much about, who's the mother to the dog that I love more than anything in this world, Molly. See her get her moment. The crowd went nuts when they heard that she was announced as being in the movie. They ran the clip. The clip was fantastic. So congratulations to Danny, and congratulations to Ralph Breaks the Internet, because you got a great talent in the movie now. And the movie, they ran some of the famous Disney princess scene again and a lot of other good stuff. It's going to be a good movie.
That's awesome.
And if you have anything to do with the online world, or you work in that space like what we all do, this movie has scenes in it, things in it that you're really going to resonate to. And to watch Ralph have to endure some things that you will endure on the internet, it just makes us feel like, hey, we got another brother in arms with us.
Nice.
So, all right. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know what? We got one more Twitter question, but since that one was so Perry-centric, this one can be Rocha-centric. A lot of people asking, both on Twitter and in the chat room, hey, Rocha, Saints, Redskins, Monday Night Football, who's going to win?
Don't ask him that question.
Redskins, son.
No.
Not even a question. Not even a question.
There's a lot of questions. As a hardcore Redskins fan, there's a lot of questions.
Saints defense, give me a break. As the host of Collider Sports, I'm professionally tell you the Redskins going to win that game tonight.
Let's see how you're feeling about all this when we check our fantasy football scores in the morning.
Right. Perry has Michael Thomas playing tonight. I have Jordan Reed playing tonight, and she has the Saints kicker, whoever it is this week, playing for her as well. So she's down. She's up by. I'm up by 26 points.
The kicker's
so
Lutz, right?
Yeah.
And he's served me very well. He's a kicker that even on the bye week, I'm not getting rid of him.
Well, Lutz can kick.
Lutz is the captain in Beverly Hills Cop 2, isn't it? Well, I can't trust that guy. Chief Lutz? I can't trust Chief Lutz.
I'm going to have both your badges on my desk if we don't end the show. Hail the Redskins, fight for old DC. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, another Collider Movie Talk. In the meantime, you can find us all on Twitter. Just put our names in the Twitter thing and you'll figure it out. Bye, everybody. I got to get home to watch the game. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.